man, what it is. I am your host, the Carolina Key, Voice B, Garden Sound TV Coalition DJs, CMVA 107.5, man. You already know it's Friday. Man, it's another edition of New Artist Fridays. Man, we got a very special guest in the building right now, man. Got my boy Mason in the building. What's happening, my dude?
What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Man, you already know, man. We 10 toes down.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? We stay grinding around here, man.
Yes, sir.
Man, how you feeling tonight, man?
Man, it's like you said, it's Friday, so you know what I'm saying. It's been actually, I was gonna say it's been a long week, but it hasn't been. It kind of whizzed by, honestly.
Man, this whole year.
Yeah, bro, yo, we halfway to 2024, and man, that's crazy to think about.
I'm telling you, man,
it was Christmas yesterday.
Like,
real talk. It seemed like it was Christmas yesterday.
I'm telling you, bro, it's just like, man, like time just be zooming by, and it's like, dang, like, where did it go? You know, it almost seemed unfair. You know?
Yeah, that's probably because you know, well, for one, if you got a lot on your plate, if you got a lot, plus like the slowdown in 2020, you know, there was a lot of build-up, you know, as far as when people get the world slowly opening back up and being able to like do more and more, return back to normal. You know, I'm pretty sure that after a whole year being, actually year plus of being, you know, slow motion, now that we like
we making up for that time.
We had full tilt now, so it's like, you know,
you know what I
mean? So,
well, man, speaking of full tilt, you know what I mean, like you are really grinding right now. Tell us a little bit about, you know, what you have and, you know, what are you doing and what's the mindset, you know what I mean, of getting this workout.
Well, the main focus right now is the Paperback Hero Saga. The Paperback Hero Saga is a multifaceted project where the cornerstone of it is a comic book series that has an adjoining soundtrack and also a short film to go with each issue. And so, you know, as the story goes along, each issue or each track off the soundtrack represents an issue from the comic book. And so the first issue, as well as the soundtrack, dropped June 24th, and the single that we have tonight is called I Am Legend, which is an accompanying, it's actually kind of the climax of the story, actually, and you can kind of tell by the energy on the track, so I definitely hope y'all enjoy it.
Well, man, we're going to get into it right quick. What makes you a legend?
Well, in Charlotte, I'm a legend, because other people say that, I guess.
Okay, so that's not self-titled.
Nah.
Okay.
Nah. In Charlotte, people have said I'm a legend, because, I mean, probably because I am one of few people, if not one of the only people, who have done the things that I've done, the array of things that I've done at the level that I've done for as long as I've done it. So I'm a professional actor. I've made a living off of that. I'm a professional musician. I've made money off of that. I started out as spoken word. I made money off of that. You know, so like I was a personality on Power 98. Did that for a little while. You know, so like locally, like I grew up on the scene. When I was like 14, 15 years old, they were sneaking me into the club so I could spit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was spitting on Power 98. I was going up on the last Friday or first Friday of the month to spit in the morning before school. Like everybody else was in school at my school, so but I was on the radio spitting. And then I come to school and like they never heard it because I was in school, so nobody knew what I was. And I went to a Christian school, so like I was like on a secular station. So I would spit, and like on a station that they wasn't even allowed to listen to. So like, you know, my class, like, you know, at school, like I was just Mason, you know what I'm saying? But everywhere else, like all my friends was like 20s and 30s and shit, and I was 15 years old or whatever because I was getting snuck into the club.
Stomping with the big dog.
Exactly. So I was the young gunner. So they saw me, like everybody that's in the industry in Charlotte saw me grow up as an artist, whether they rock with me or like me or whatever. They know me and they know I'm nice, and they know that I do what I do, you know, the way that I do it. So people who have seen that grind over the years have said, "Yo, you're a Charlotte legend, dog." So you know, I take that with pride, and I take that like that's an honor, dog. Like, I'm like, really, you feel that way? It's like, I do feel that way. I was like, man, like that's what's up. And it didn't come from just one person. It came from multiple places. So that's why I made the song.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Yeah. Well, some validity, you know what I mean, to back it up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
So man, like, you know, I noticed, you know, going through your catalog and stuff like that, like, you know, you've been kind of quiet since 2020.
I have.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's been like a little kind of gap right in there, right?
Yeah.
And then I watched the video, and the video takes us back to 2020.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So you already know, like, you gotta break that down to us, like, you know what I mean? What's the concept behind that, like the ideology behind it?
So a lot of times he got things worked out in a way. If you just submit to that vision that he gave you and don't waver from it, he got things worked out in a way already that it's gonna be more beautiful than you could have ever planned it. And
just tingling in my spirit right now.
Yes, sir. And so when God gave me the vision to do the Paperback Hero Saga, you know, first of all, I studied comic books. Like, I love comic books, I always have, but to write a poem, and to write a comic book script, there are three different monsters, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, I really studied how to write and how to tell a story. And one of the things that fixes everything in comic books is time travel. Because to create a comic book, a soundtrack, and a short film on your own dollar, or to be the executive producer of that, and to get the resources and the funds to be able to do something like that, that's a heavy lift. So it takes years to be able to do it. So I knew from jump that I had to create something that would have shelf life. And that no matter how long it took me to get the other parts ready, I could continuously go back to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
No matter how long we go into the future, my character is going back to 2020.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter that I did this in 2020, because that's where the story starts.
Always.
So
what came first? Was it the comic book, the storyline? Was it the song? You know, what sparked it off?
I'm not gonna hold you. The songs come first, and they have a life of their own. So, like, the cool thing about the soundtrack is that each song, though it's an issue from the comic book, they have their own live action visual that may or may not have it. Like, if you're not into comic books, you could see the video to I Am Legend and just appreciate it for that. You know, if you're not into comic books, you can see the video for all of them, really, and appreciate it for just what it is. Just like in any good art, you travel the emotional gamut. And so what I did is I took the songs that I had done, because, you know, you record way more than what you put on the project. So I took out of my library, and I put together a project that told its own story, basically, and produced the emotional response that I was looking for out of my audience. And I kind of let the music help mold the story. And so the music came first. Then, the concept to do a story came first, really. The music, then the concept to do a story, then the actual story. The actual story was the very last thing. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, what is actually in this book was the very...
Can I see that?
Yeah, absolutely. Was the very last thing to materialize. I had, like, the outline, because any good storyteller, right, has the end from the beginning, right? So
that's how they shoot movies.
Right.
Yeah.
So I already knew where I was trying to go, but I didn't know how I was going to get there. And so the very last thing that I figured out was how I was going to get there. And I helped, and the music the path that I laid in the music helped determine how I got there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
are you saying
I put it together like
you
a
didn't know
puzzle.
how you was gonna start? You saying you knew how you was gonna end, but you didn't
I knew how I was gonna. I knew the characters that I had, and the characters in the story that I kind of wanted to tell with the characters that I had created, and I knew how I wanted to end the arc. You know what I'm saying? And this is my magnum opus, man. I put everything I have to this on this. You know what I'm saying? Everything. I took out a lien on my car to get this shit done. So
sacrifices.
Yeah, bro. Like this shit ain't no game to me.
So tell us, man. Like, what is the Paperback Hero Saga about? Like, just give us like a general synopsis of the storyline.
Got you. So, the main theme in all the books, and every phase of the arc is growth, and how it's necessary but uncomfortable for anything to flourish, right, and to become what it ultimately needs to become, right. So the story picks up with Mason Myers. Of course, I'm Mason Parker, but you see what I did there. And Mason, his father has just passed away, and he kind of begrudgingly, he's an up and coming hip hop artist. You know, he ain't got like no crazy following or nothing like that, but he's doing his thing. You know what I mean? And his father dies kind of suddenly. And begrudgingly, he goes back to help his aunt in the family bookstore that's been in the family since about like the 1930s, right? And so one day, a really aggressive developer who obviously has, you know, some type of tie to the bookstore comes and makes like this really aggressive offer. He just like won't leave Mason's aunt alone about it. And so, you know, it becomes very obvious that there's more to the family bookstore than he knows, or obviously everybody else knows, but you know, he's left in the dark. And then he kind of realizes that there's a lot more to his responsibility to his family and to his legacy than he thought. And he has to kind of figure out how he's going to navigate, you know, building his own story, telling his own story, and the things that he wants to do with the responsibility that's now on his shoulders because of his father's death. And his responsibility is now as an alusana. And the alusana it literally translates into the word guard. And the alusana have been responsible for maintaining the balance between the realms for millennia, ever since the Great War. And ever since the Great War, and ever since they've been running things, you know, it's been in a certain way. They make sure that things like stay exactly the way that they're supposed to be. Nobody goes anywhere to any realm that they're not supposed to be in. Nobody travels or discovers interdimensional travel that ain't supposed to be discovered, and nobody tampers with the system. You know what I mean? That's their job. But
Alusana.
The alusana.
Alusana.
Olusana.
Alusana.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. And that literally translates to guards. And so now, when he's instructed to go investigate a breach site, that's already been processed. It's basically like a crime scene that's already been like processed by CSI, but he's been instructed to go back to reinvestigate. And he shows up and finds out that the scene that he's been instructed to go back to is the bookstore in 2020.
Ooh.
And that's where the story starts.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
Yo, that is deep.
Thank you.
that is deep. I see why since 2008.
Yeah. It's I want to give people something to really sink their teeth into, because people, one thing COVID and quarantine taught us is that people want immersive experiences. One thing Marvel and watching that whole phenomenon over the last 20 years or 10 years or whatever, how long it's been, it has taught us is that people want to escape.
So his superpower is lyricism?
No,